You know, I get asked this a lot, why I think that EFT is such a powerful tool working with addicts and addictions. And I'm not going to use this particular forum to talk about what EFT is. For anybody that's listening to this and doesn't know, just go to YouTube or go to Google EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. There is so much description of how it works and tools on how to do it. And the reason why it's there is because it's so profoundly effective for everything. You know, it works on everything and anything to one degree or another as an application for change. But specifically how it works for addictions is that it helps people get right-minded. And by what I mean by that is, when I work with addictions, just because of my background, I work mostly with chronic relapsers. People that have been to treatment before, or been to AA or one of the 12-step programs or whatever, and they've had some success. They've had a period of time, maybe even a long period of time, of being clean and sober, and they like it. They look back on their times being in their active addiction and going, "Ooh, I don't ever want to do that again." And they express this gratitude for being clean and sober and the tools, whatever they've used at that point to stay clean and sober. And then something happens, and they relapse. And they don't know what happened, and they don't know what happened. They really don't. And they're not in denial, they're not being belligerent, they're not recalcitrant. Something happens. And when I talk with them, I say, what happened? Why did you go from this person who was so grateful to be clean and sober to someone who's back now, you know, in the dregs of your addiction? What happened? Don't know. And I say, nobody in their right mind would ever go back there again. And they go, I know, I don't know what happened. Well then, what kind of mind were you in when you obviously made some kind of choice, whether it was a conscious choice or an unconscious choice, to go back to that thing that you swore you'd never do again? What kind of mind were you in? They were in a state of unconsciousness or in a state of non-conscious reactivity to something that was going on. Whether an external presentation of an event, a life event, or some kind of reaction or response to that life event, or just an internal reaction to their own selves, their own emotional response to something. And they get stuck. They get stuck on that thing. They get stuck on that reaction. And what EFT does is it breaks the stuck response. EFT, generally speaking, is an adjunct of Chinese acupuncture, where the Chinese discovered centuries ago these invisible pathways in our systems that is basically just energy moving from one point of the body to another point of the body. And when that energy is free-flowing, healthfulness abounds. When any of these wonderful energetic conduits get stuck, then if it gets stuck for too long, the person becomes unaware of themselves, physical illnesses start happening and so on, and they discovered how to use needles to go on different parts of these meridians, and they get them spinning and the pathways open, and healthfulness starts to happen. So numerous people have worked on this. Roger Callahan was one. Gary Craig took Roger Callahan's work and expanded it into EFT. And other people have taken Gary's work and done different things with it. And as far as I'm concerned, it's all good when it works. And what it does is and of course I should say, none of these guys are using needles anymore. That's the difference between energy psychology, EFT, and acupuncture. But it does the same thing. It finds a way of loosening and unblocking up those meridians and allowing energy to flow. So whereas you might have someone who's stuck with shame or guilt or anger or frustration or whatever it may be, and it's stuck there and it's not allowing anything to happen. And this staying in that state of non-conscious reactivity over a while, the old addiction process says and it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good when you're doing it. And the brain says, you know, you'd feel a lot more comfortable if you went and ate the refrigerator. That would be really, really good, you know. You'd feel better. Go shoot a little dope. It'll be all right. It always made you feel better before. You know, go down to the bar. Have, 10 or 12. You'll be fine. Or even your brain says, actually, you just need a little bit. Just a little bit to take the edge off because it feels uncomfortable. And of course, the problem is once you start the behavior, even just for a moment, the old force of it comes back, and now the behavior is defining what's going to happen next. That's just the nature of addiction. But what EFT does is it allows you to break that process of discomfort. So if you can learn to notice, to become aware that you're actually feeling this form of discomfort, and then know that you have a tool to change that, there's this sense of freedom, which is why Gary came up with freedom, this emotional freedom technique. You don't have to get locked into that deep-rooted stuckness anymore. And EFT, when judiciously applied by working with someone else and then learning how to do it for yourself, is just a sense of freedom. I know now that I don't have to get locked into it anymore, that as I tune myself to my discomforts and notice those discomforts and go, oh, wait a minute, there's something going on here. And go, oh, okay. I don't even have to think about it anymore. Oh, I'm just going to do, and you start doing a little EFT tapping. And it's very simple, and it's great, and all of a sudden, you go from being stuck in the rage or the shame or the anger, whatever, or the shame or whatever, and you're free. And then you replace that now free-flowing conduit with its opposite, whatever it may be. And everything shifts. Everything shifts. It's an extraordinary bit of business.